It was close to midnight when Jane hit the interstate. She drove for rideshare apps after her day job, hustling for the extra cash. The back seat, a place of weirdos, drunkards, once even a celebrity, rarely unnerved her. But this stormy night, the city was drenched, and each shadow on the roadside looked like a huddled stranger. Her app pinged. Passenger, Miles. Pickup, Rest Stop 14, outskirts. Destination, Willow Lane. She cursed under her breath. Willow Lane's reputation was almost urban legend, a dead-end street where a family disappeared 20 years ago. Jane pulled beneath a flickering lamppost. The rain painted the windows with blurry streaks. Her dome light snapped on as the back door opened and a man climbed in, soaking wet, not meeting her eyes, silent but for a faint cough. He wore a long brown coat, frayed, old-fashioned. Water dripped patterns on the spotless seat. Miles only said, "Willow Lane, please." His voice was muted like radio static. Jane nodded and set off. The GPS glitched, lost in the storm. Lightning forked ahead. Every time Jane glanced in the mirror, the stranger's gaze met hers, a reflection more than a direction. The ride was silent except for the rhythmic slap of the wipers. About 10 minutes in, Jane's ears prickled at a sound, almost a whimper, like a child muffling a sob. She frowned and craned around, but the man looked out the window. Maybe he had a kid with him? But she saw only his lonely silhouette and the crumpled umbrella at his feet. Her hair stood on end as static buzz from her radio, breaking the silence in pulses. Rain lashed the glass. The sobbing got louder, echoing, weaving with the radio, a young girl's voice, desperate. "Why did you leave me here? You promised you'd come back." Jane's hand shook. She turned, but the passenger sat perfectly still, the only movement the steady drip off his coat. Jane's breath misted. Her car felt freezing. A shadowy shape flickered in the rear view. A girl with dark hair grabbing the back of the seat, face too gray for life, eyes pleading, hollow. Jane yelped, swerved, and the car bounced onto the shoulder. The passenger hissed, "Drive. You mustn't stop." She stared helplessly into the mirror. The girl was gone. The man was calm again, but Jane saw water bleeding from a long gash in his sleeve, soaking into her upholstery. He gripped an old photograph, two children by a willow tree, a house behind them, burned to its shell. Willow Lane's sign loomed, half collapsed, painted red, maybe by nature, maybe by memory. As Jane stopped, the man spoke, voice lost to time. "Thank you for bringing me home. She's waiting. I promised never to leave her alone in the storm." Jane twisted around. The back seat was empty. Muddy footprints led out onto a driveway overgrown with weeds, vanishing at the willow tree. Her phone buzzed. Trip canceled. Balance, $0. Hard in her throat, Jane floored it. To escape the ghosts of Willow Lane and the chilling sound of child sob, still whispering, "Don't forget me." It was one of those nights when the city sweats and shivers at the same time, orange sodium lights flickering against slick roads. My name is Ray, a veteran cabbie, the kind who knows all the shortcuts and dead ends, who's seen it all, until that night. Midnight downtown, ghostly quiet. I was nursing a cup of cooled coffee at the edge of a parking lot, engine idling. A tap at the window snapped me to attention. A woman, maybe 30, drenched from the sudden rain, hair plastered to her pale cheeks. She slid into the back seat, a faded satchel clutched to her chest, eyes too wide and glassy. 1500 Sable Street, please, she murmured. Her voice had that hollow echo, the sort reserved for people who haven't slept or those haunted by something more. I glanced in the rear view, wanted to reassure her, but she was already staring straight ahead, lips trembling as if she were biting back words or screams. The radio spit static when I tried to tune it, the city's pulse fading beneath white noise and the hiss of wet tires. As we rolled beneath violet-black overpasses, a cold draft crept in. For a moment, it was like someone unseen sat beside her. I glanced again and swore her bag was moving, a subtle shift like something alive within, but she clutched it harder, knuckles bleached bone white. A traffic light bathed us in fever red. The woman whispered, more to herself than to me. He said he'd come for me tonight. My scalp prickled. Who? I asked, but she just shook her head, tears starting in her eyes. The light changed, and I took a breath, exhaling into the mounting dread. We passed a pawn shop whose neon flickered out as we passed, leaving us deeper in shadow. Why not just call the police? I ventured. Her bag shifted again. You can't call the cops on a ghost, she whispered. Heart hammering, I gripped the wheel. The cab filled with a chilled mist, impossible but real. The rear view offered a fractured glimpse. Her reflection was smeared, indistinct, as though she were fading away. As we turned on a Sable, gutted houses towered on either side, windows like empty eye sockets. The street number didn't exist. All that stood at 1500 was a burnt-out husk of a house, blackened by fire, police tape fluttering in the breeze. My mind reeled. I'd heard about this place, a family dead, a girl's body never found, rumors of hauntings. I braked, but the woman opened the door before I could speak. The streetlight buzzed, silhouetting her as she slipped into the night. She left the bag behind. My hand shook as I reached for it. The zipper was icy, my breath visible in the dark. Inside, a photograph, warped by water. It showed the woman, smiling, next to a man whose eyes had been burnt out. The back read, Jessica lost to him. A chilling moan echoed from the house, the passenger's silhouette barely visible among the shadows. Then, a second pair of eyes gleamed next to her, unblinking, hungry. I didn't wait for more. I slammed the car into gear and fled, tires screeching, skin crawling. My mirror held her gaze till the night swallowed her whole. Some fares you never forget. It's the ones who don't belong in this world that haunt you longest. If you want a lesson in city paranoia, take it from me. Danny Russo, former cabbie, now a full-time crime buff. There's a story that still makes the hair on my arm stand up, and it starts with an empty street and a full moon. It was 2 a.m. I was working the night shift, the only time the streets whisper secrets. That night, my last fare was out past the old city cemetery, where the air feels thick and every shadow has teeth. Dispatch called about a woman needing a ride home on Spruce and Ninth. I swung by, headlights piercing thick fog. She stood at the curb, coat hood up, face lost in shadow. She slid into the back seat, voice soft as fog, and told me her address. I caught a chill then, but blamed it on the busted heater. The ride was quiet, too quiet. She sat perfectly still, not a shuffle nor sniffle. At a red light, I caught her reflection in the mirror, but the darkness behind drowned her face. Just the faint shape of her outline, hair wet and clumped like she'd been caught in the rain I hadn't seen outside for hours. Halfway down an endless road lined with old sycamores, static crept through the radio, then a woman's voice, muffled, pleading, whispered my name. Danny. My foot jerked on the pedal. I glanced up. The back seat seemed emptier than it should, and suddenly the air stank of earth and rotting leaves. I forced a swallow and switched off the radio. Are you all right back there? I asked, meeting her gaze in the mirror. Nothing. That or the non-gaze of someone not fully there. Hoping for a tip and into my shift, I sped up. 2 blocks from her destination, she leaned forward, breath cold on my neck. "You passed it," she whispered. I slammed the brakes and turned. My heart stuttered. Her seat was empty. I spun, scanning the back seat, hands shaking. The door still locked, the window rolled up tight. It gets stranger. I flew home, ready to blame exhaustion, but that chill lingered. Hours later, I dug through old police reports, habit of mine. Found a news clipping dated a year ago. Local woman killed in hit and run on Spruce and Ninth. Her portrait stared up at me, eyes shadowed beneath a familiar coat hood. Every now and then, city drivers whisper about the hitchhiker on Spruce and Ninth, the one who never makes it home. Me? I drive days now, but sometimes when I pass those sycamores and catch my own eyes in the mirror, I see fog curl behind my headrest, and I never, ever listen to the radio after midnight.